nice surprise. The crew is in the house. Stephen A., this is your 10th plane of the week?
Yes.
It is nice to see you, though. It's good to have you both here. Hi, Max. I'm Molly.
Good
thanks
morning.
for being with us on First Take, everybody. So before we dive into the Home Run Derby with our insider extraordinaire, Jeff Passan, Stephen A., I know you want to address your comments on Shohei Ohtani on yesterday's show.
Well, it's necessary. First of all, I'm a little under the weather today, so forgive me if I sound a little strange or whatever. I don't have the Rona.
Well, you've been on like 8 planes.
But I do have
a
scratchy throat and a runny nose.
Yep.
And I'm glad Jeff Passan is going to be on the show. Let me be very clear. Could y'all put the camera on me, please? I don't need press releases. I don't need statements from the company. I don't need all of this other stuff. Let me be the first to stand up and say that I want to express my sincere apologies to the Asian community and the Asian American community. I am a black man. I religiously go off about minorities being marginalized in this nation. I instantly go off, repeatedly bring up the fact that if you are a member of a community that feels disenfranchised in any way, that's something that we need to battle, that we need to fend off to the best of our ability as a nation. These are the kind of things that I bring up. And the reason why I bring up my blackness is because of this. On many occasions, what I have said, when people have said something that is offensive in any way to the minority community, it's not about how you feel. It's about how they feel. And the reality of the situation is that you have Asians and Asian Americans out there that obviously were very, very offended by what I had to say yesterday. And I just want to look into the camera and extend my sincere apologies. That was not my intent at all, but I'm not going to get into all of that because I do understand that a lot of racists out there are quick to say that was not my intent. That's not where I'm going here. I was wrong, period. There's no excuse. This is not ESPN. This is not Disney. For a lot of people out there going off about Disney and ESPN, no, this was me. Wasn't Max, wasn't Molly, wasn't the producers on First Take, wasn't the bosses, it was me. I said it. And the reality is that I was completely clueless as to the kind of impact that this would have on the Asian and the Asian American community. That was not my intent at all. And so I just want to say we're going to talk about a lot of things. Jeff Passan is going to be on the show today. June Lee is going to be on the show. I think Eduardo Perez is going to be on the show, along with a host of others. And I welcome this conversation. I don't have a problem with it, but I just want people to know, here's where I stand. The second that I was informed about how hurt a group of people in this nation was off of what I said, that's all that matters to me. All that matters to me, because I don't intend to hurt people like that. That's not who I am. That's not who I've ever been. If I have a problem with you, you know it. If I mean to offend you, you know it. I don't hide from it. I let you know I'm coming. That wasn't the case yesterday. But nevertheless, it doesn't negate the fact that they were detrimentally affected by my words. I have friends from the Asian American community that expressed their disappointment in what I had to say because of all the things that they have had to deal with, the anti-Asian stuff going on, the Asian hate that's been percolating in this nation over the last few years, and we all know to some degree why that is. I contributed to that yesterday, and that's inexcusable. So that's on me. And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community, and the Walt Disney and the ESPN, because I'm not about bringing this kind of attention to the company.
And you know
and I did yesterday, and that's on me.
I so appreciate about you, though. As soon as you realize you made the mistake, you apologize, you own it. There's no script. You look in front of the camera, and you said that you're wrong. And we're going to have a bigger conversation now, and I'm looking forward to that. And it's an important conversation that we need to have. Anything you wanted to add, Max, before I bring Jeff in?
Simply that I know Stephen A. Smith. We've been working together, I don't know how many years now.
5.
Stephen A. Smith is not only, he's counting the days, he's not only not racist. I can tell you he is not racist. Yeah. He is anti-racist, stridently anti-racist.
Absolutely. It's a teachable moment for everyone. We have to continue to grow. Yep.
I want to also extend I did it on Twitter, but I also want to extend a personal apology to Ohtani himself, because going into the home run derby last night and having to deal with all of these headlines that I created, I certainly didn't intend for that to be the case either. So I certainly owe him an apology. I want to apologize to him, his loved ones, everybody that cares for him and is in the circle. Again, I owe him an apology as well. And I also don't want to escape, on a different note, the Nigerians as well, because the Nigerian team that beat Team USA, when I didn't pronounce someone's name, apparently they took offense to that. And I'm a guy who is a huge fan of Francis Ngannou and Israel Adesanya and Usman. I love that brother, the Nigerian Nightmare. To listen to them over the years highlight what they've had to endure to achieve what they've achieved in this nation and throughout the world. Certainly, I want to make sure that I apologize to them as well. I was busy debating you about Team USA basketball, and on my show, I also talked about how Kevin Durant had a shot blocked by a dude named Precious, because that was his name and what have you. And, I was just trying to be funny and all of that other stuff, but they obviously took offense to that. I did not know. And so I apologize for that, and I'll do better, and that is that.
Yep. Do better every day. That's what we're here to do. Let's bring in our insider, Jeff Passan. Jeff, you got us?
I do have you guys. How are you, Molly?
Hey, Jeff. Thank you so much for being with us. I know it's a very busy time for you, but obviously you're much more intimately involved in the sport. Can you please speak to the significance of Shohei Ohtani?
Stephen A., I appreciate your willingness to apologize, because it shows that you will listen. And I feel like I have to tell a story here about Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani came to this country at 23 years old. He left behind his family, he left behind his culture, he left behind his country. He left behind everything he knows to go and pursue the American dream. He wanted to come here and be great. And he is the sort of person who this show and who this network and who this country should embrace. We are not the ones who should be trafficking in ignorance. We are not the ones who should be perpetuating false ideas that, unfortunately, far too many people out there believe. We should look at Shohei Ohtani as a bastion of what this country and this sports world is about. And you know what he's done? He has reached that greatness. He has achieved that. He has found it here in America. And he's done so without speaking English publicly, and he's done so speaking English to his teammates. The reality about Shohei Ohtani, Stephen A., is that he is a story that we should all be wanting to tell. And it's unfortunate that something like yesterday happened, but this gives us the opportunity to come out here today and talk about what Shohei Ohtani is doing. And what he's doing right now is something that we have not seen since Babe Ruth, something that we have not seen since Bullet Rogan and Double Duty Ratcliffe in the Negro Leagues, something I never thought that I would see again, which is someone who's starting the All-Star game today and batting first the day after putting on an electric performance in the Home Run Derby. You talked about yesterday how you on this show, addressed Shohei Ohtani only twice. Why? Look at what he's doing. That's what we should be asking ourselves. It's not that Shohei Ohtani doesn't speak English publicly and that people don't embrace him. It's that if people don't embrace him because he doesn't speak English publicly, they're the problem, not Shohei Ohtani.
Well, by the way, we addressed Shohei Ohtani, I think you said twice. I thought it was more than that. But Jeff, truth be told, that's more than we addressed any other baseball topic that wasn't scandal. That's much more a reflection of baseball's marginalization culturally over the last several decades than it is a reflection of what we feel about Shohei Ohtani, which, you just said it, he's done something that really no one's done since Babe Ruth, because no one's dominated both sides of the ball like this in any major, quote-unquote, major league around the world since Ruth. And when Babe Ruth did it, it was much easier to do. The samples were smaller. There were greater deviations from the mean as a result. The best player was much better. The worst player was much worse. And guys had day jobs and off-season jobs, and it wasn't a worldwide sport where 3 generations of training go into a kid. So what Ohtani's doing is completely unlikely. And for those who would argue that, well, the pitchers have the advantage now, so it's easier to pitch, well, then explain the league lead in home runs, triples, and slugging percentage. It's incredible.
Well, Yeah, and listen, I'm glad that we are talking about him right now. A point you brought up yesterday, Stephen A., about marketing Ohtani. I have a 13-year-old. His two favorite players are Fernando Tatis Jr. and Shohei Ohtani. You know, Tatis does speak English, but he's from the Dominican Republic. Ohtani does not speak English publicly, but knows how to. My son doesn't care. You know what he cares about? He cares about the fact that Shohei Ohtani hits 450-foot home runs seemingly every day. And he cares about the fact that Fernando Tatis Jr. is like the coolest person that he has ever seen. That's what baseball needs. That is the language that sells itself to fans. It's not what anyone can say. Like, I ask you this in all seriousness. Stephen A., you have been in locker rooms and clubhouses for your entire professional career. Has an athlete ever said anything to you that makes you think, boy, I want to watch this game. I want to watch him play? No, we don't watch them for the words they say. We watch them for the things they do.
Okay, that's fair. But if we're going to be fair about it, and I'm certainly not implying that you're not, Jeff, you know me, I'm not running from any of this conversation again. My apologies is to the Asian and the Asian American community. Let me be very clear. I don't owe an apology to anybody else. I got a saying that when you mow the grass, the snakes come out. There's a whole bunch of people that's trying to jump on there. I see who they are, and I know who they are. I'm certainly not implying that you're one of them, Jeff. Please don't get me wrong. But you know what I'm talking about when I make a statement like that, because everybody's trying to jump on that bandwagon today. Y'all go right ahead. I'm right here. Ain't nobody running from this conversation. I will ask you a question, Jeff Passan, because I love the fact that you want to have this discussion. Do I get an opportunity to sit here and, as ignorant as it may be, to simply ask you a question or engage in a conversation and give you an individual's perspective that you simply may agree or disagree with? Because a lot of times we give apologies and then we want to run away. I don't want to run away. I want to stay right here, and I want the Asian community, I want the Asian American community, I want the white community, I want the black community. I want everybody to look at me and say, hey, if I'm ignorant about something, highlight it so we can correct it and move the conversation forward and make things better. Jeff Passan, now let me ask you this question. Having said all of that, does baseball market Ohtani or anybody else to a satisfactory degree in your estimation?
No, it's been a problem for a long time now.
Stop right there.
And you're not wrong when you say that.
You got to stop right there. Why don't they do that in your estimation?
I think that baseball has had a problem reaching through to the younger generation because for the longest time it was holding on to this notion that the way the game has been played, the people inside of the game are stuck back in the 1950s and 1960s and 1970s. Right. And I think that has changed slowly but surely. Okay. I think that has changed with the emergence of Fernando Tatis Jr., with the dynamism of Ronald Acuna Jr., and this year with Shohei Ohtani finally doing what he was supposed to do when he came over in 2018. This isn't a situation, I think, where the tail wags the dog. This is where the players have to lead the sport to the right place and embrace it. And if your argument here is that Shohei Ohtani is not out there publicly enough doing commercials and advocating for Major League Baseball, good. Because
that wasn't my argument. That wasn't my argument. That's where I'm going with all of this. Because see, my point is, first of all, let me be very, very clear. It's not an interrogation here. I'm the one that was wrong, not you. So I appreciate you being on the show, and I appreciate us having this conversation. I just don't want to be a phony like I know a lot of people have been in the past in terms of when they give apologies. I want to be real about it, and I want to put my ignorance on display to some degree because I want to make sure that this is not an issue that the Asian or the Asian American community ever has to deal with again. What I'm trying to say is this.
Stephen, can I tell you a story? Can I tell you a story? Because I had my own moment 3 years ago with Shohei Ohtani where I had to apologize. Back in spring training, I wrote a column after talking with scouts that said Shohei Ohtani is going to have trouble hitting in the big leagues. And it fell on its face. And a month later, I didn't just write an apology. No, I think it was like a week later. I didn't just write an apology, Stephen A. What I did was I went back and I looked at what I had done wrong. I looked at why did I write this? The people who I talked with. Were they all a certain age, of a certain background, of a certain race? Did they all have the same sort of education and maybe fell to the same biases? I dissected what I did wrong. I did an autopsy on myself and how I approach things. And that's all I want anyone to ever do. And I appreciate us having this conversation is part of your autopsy. And I appreciate that because we all need to be better. And your commitment to doing so right here by talking about this, by taking responsibility, is a good thing and something that's going to make you better as a person and on this show as well.
I thank you for saying that because that's exactly where I'm going with this, which is why I want to reveal my ignorance. I want the Asian and the Asian American community. I want the Latino community and others. I want them to know where I was coming from to correct me. Because again, I may not have known. So Jeff, here's what I'm saying. As a black man looking at Major League Baseball, watching the populace of Major League Baseball dissipate to hovering around 6 to 8%, even though they've got reviving baseball in the inner cities, the RBI program and other things that they've tried to do. When you look at it from that perspective, and then you look at the younger demographic, and you hear all the noise that we've been hearing about baseball, and Max and Molly and myself, along with everybody on this show, can attest to the fact that in most instances, one of the biggest reasons why we find ourselves talking about basketball, football, combat sports, as opposed to baseball, is because when we do talk about baseball, that's when the numbers dip.
And we love baseball.
And we love baseball.
Jeff, we love baseball.
I love my Yankees. Max.
It's Max's number one sport.
It's Max's number one sport, Jeff. And put Jeff up on the screen so I can see Jeff, please. What I'm saying is that when people are looking at the sport of baseball and they're wondering what was wrong, my point was it wasn't about Ohtani's greatness because we all know that he's great. And by the way, he speaks 3 different languages. And oh, by the way, the man is the closest thing to Babe Ruth that we've seen in some people's eyes. We all recognize that. But I was speaking to marketing the sport and what hiccups Major League Baseball might be entertaining in its own mind as to what works and what doesn't. And all I'm saying is that could be entirely wrong because from everything that I've heard, every time Ohtani shows up at a baseball park, the ballpark is packed, the house is packed. I get all of that. I'm just saying that as you look at Major League Baseball from a promotional perspective, that's the potential hiccup that they may have looked at. And if I'm wrong about that, please educate me. I have no problem with it. Which is why I'm happy that we're having this discussion and you bring up the word autopsy, which I think is a great word in this particular instance, because there damn sure needs to be an autopsy on what I've had to say, and I have no issue with it whatsoever. I really don't.
Major League Baseball needs to do better there. There is no question about it. But it's a lot easier to do better when you have somebody like Shohei Ohtani who is displaying the skills that he is, when you have somebody like Tatis who has the swag that he does. I'm not going to sit here, Stephen A., and say that Major League Baseball has done a great job of marketing itself. The game is too slow. Honestly, the game is boring sometimes. That's just a fact. That's a reality. But they are taking steps, and I don't know if they're the right ones. It's a difficult thing to do amid this landscape where you've got the NBA, the NFL, MMA, the NHL, Euros. You've got all these things going on to differentiate your sport. But the truth is, Stephen A., the more you talk about baseball, the more people are going to watch it because they listen. And they want to see it on these airwaves.
The one thing baseball has going for it more than any other sport, any other team sport, is history and its traditions, its best traditions. And the reason statistics are so important is because we like comparing across eras, and we have this enormous volume of statistical information. And that's where Ohtani is great marketing the sport, because you can trade on baseball's 100-plus year history at the highest levels and compare him and to people who played over 100 years ago and point out there's a reason this hasn't been done in over a century.
Yeah, and home runs are a universal language. We all agree on that. And when we know better, we do better. Jeff, thank you so much for being with us. I do want to tag by saying this when we're speaking of diversity and inclusion. MLB is committing up to $150 million to the Players Alliance. That's aimed at increasing black representation in the sport. Rob Manfred saying, we want young people, period, playing the game, particularly young people of color. So strong message from the commissioner. Jeff, we'll talk to you soon.
Jeff, thank you.
Good to see you, Jeff.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you. Still to come on First Take, we just heard obviously from Jeff Passan, but June Lee joins us later to dive even deeper into Ohtani and his significance beyond baseball. That very candid discussion one-on-one with Stephen A. in just a bit. Nobody is hiding. Plus, deja vu. Team USA loses another tune-up game before Tokyo. This time, Australia got the best of them. We'll bring on Perk to react to the L. Carry on.